Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to World Hypno News Live. It is great to be here with you. Please let me know where you're watching from. Please let me know who you are. Tonight I'm flying solo. Jim is away again. Guys has more holidays than I don't know what. But he'll be back next week. We have got an interesting show for you tonight and next week. We've got a fantastic show for you as well. Kevin Lapine will be joining us next week talking about his new book, which I'm really excited about. Fantastic Vegas headliner and a great advocate for the world of stage hypnosis. But we've had some great things going on this week. Dennis Ridgway is in the house. I see Dennis is commenting already. And you know, Dennis, we're going to try something a little bit new while you're here. Let me just put on this lottery jar there. You will see, Dennis, in the corner, we have a lottery jar. Every time you comment, you're going to get put in the lottery jar, or a new commenter gets put in the lottery jar. And at the end of today's show, we're going to pick a winner. You don't get anything for that. It's just a sportsman's bet. Maybe you'll get a cup of coffee next time you see me or Jim at somewhere. There we go. Paul is here. Paul, it is great to see you. Paul, hope you're well. Paul, feel free, if you want, feel free to jump on and say hello as well. Is there a Dorito in that jar? That is certainly a Dorito. Maybe it's a spicy Dorito. I don't know. So yes, do let us know. There we go. And Dennis, look at that. You're the first one to go in the jar. Ba-boom. So you're in a chance of winning a Dorito. So let's talk about, let me just for giggles and because I like to keep myself on my toes, I'm going to drop Paul a quick message with a link. No pressure to join us, Paul, but we've had an interesting thing happen this week, so I thought it might be interesting to get you on to chat about that. But you don't have to. We can make a special show of it later. But that's there just in case you want to. It's all good fun. I've got so many windows open at this time. It is crazy. Paul says he's going to come on. Boom. There we go. So the show's already just got 100% more interesting. Who'd have thought it? So if you are watching on TikTok as well, we are live on TikTok, on Facebook, and on YouTube, and in groups. We are live everywhere, which means my eyes have to be everywhere. And look, I've not even got my contact lenses this week, so it's going to get really crazy. And so here he is. I believe I can just see him about to appear. He is here. Please make him feel very welcome. Guys on TikTok, unfortunately, you won't be able to see him, but hopefully you might be able to hear him. But you'll hear me talking to him. So, hey ho. So let's make him feel very welcome. Let me just hide some of these windows. Hide that one. Hide that one. Hide that one. And here he is. Make him feel very welcome. There he is.
There I
Hello,
am.
hello. How
What's
are
up, buddy?
you?
I'm
I'm all
good.
right, just about.
I am, as you can see, in the midst of many things. I am brainstorming ideas and packing to get ready to head back to Arizona for the winter, and trying to help you start a new organization dedicated to stage hypnotists. And it's just
I heard something about that. I heard that there is an organization just for stage hypnotists. Let me just turn my volume up as well a little bit. So, I mean, the International Association of Stage Hypnotists, International Stage Hypnotists Association, should I say, launched. Just get the name right at first, at least. Launched this week. This has been a work in progress for quite some time. But it had to be kind of half right before we kind of went live. So, how excited were you for this to actually come around?
I am perpetually waffling between being excited and terrified. It's just so much more, than I thought. I mean, I knew it was going to be a lot of work,
Yeah.
but there's just so many things in creating an organization that you just don't. You just there's just too much, right? Like, I mean, it's all important stuff, and you want to get it right, and we've been working on it, and it just took way longer than we thought it would take, because it's just like another thing and another thing and another thing, and it really, like, you get some things done and you feel really good about it, but then like another thing pops up and it feels like it's never going to end, and it's been exhilarating in some ways, and just really really challenging in others. It's we'll get there, but
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
one
lot of
of
work.
one of the things that I loved about it um, is I've kind of been on a journey over the past few years of kind of going, do you know what? If I say I'm going to do something, try and do my best to do it. And a lot of times within our community, especially, people go, "Hey, I've got a great idea," and it just stays a great idea. But sometimes a group of people come together and go, "Hey, I've got a great idea," and someone else goes, "Yeah, that's a great idea," and then it actually takes a form. Momentum is created, and stuff actually happens. And I think to see how it is forming and the response so far is great. For me, it is exciting. It's scary,
Yeah.
and it's a lot more work than I anticipated. But it's I'm really excited because
Yeah.
I can see that this could actually be something really special for the whole industry for a very long time.
Yeah, and I think, I wrote that blog article this week because I was having those exact same kind of thoughts. I wrote a blog article about, you know, could we create
You
like a
mean
golden
you
age?
mean
There you
this blog
go.
article?
Yeah. That one
There
right
we go.
there.
As if I'd actually planned this. There we go.
That's
There's a
so
link in the
fantastic.
comment
Thank
section
you.
for that.
Well, and it was it's I had, we got to Sunday when we officially launched, we started taking applications, and then, we got a nice burst of applications on Sunday, and then we got an equivalent burst on Monday, and then we still got some more on Tuesday. And so I was like, I was just thinking about that, and I was like, there's still a long way to go for the organization, right? There's so much,
Yeah,
like we said, so much work to be done. But I really do feel like the way people have responded and the way that our core founding group has worked together, I don't feel like it's naive, I guess could be a word that people could be like, you might be being naive. I don't think it is. I honestly think we have the potential as a professional community to create a golden age in stage hypnotism. I think there's this confluence of people in different countries, which is important that it's not all in America, it's in
yeah,
multiple countries, good, kind people who are really at a point where they want to work together, they want to share with each other, they want to collaborate, they love what we do, and they don't want to just do it all by themselves anymore. And
yeah,
for me, 19 years in, I do remember when I started in 2004, I did not have that sense at all. And I've talked with
yeah,
you about that before, and I've talked with Salish about it before, and a lot of my colleagues would tend to agree, like, yeah, it wasn't like that before.
yeah,
And I don't, and I just think in some ways it's luck, maybe, but in other ways, maybe it's a broader cultural phenomenon that I don't know about. But what I do know is I consistently have really great conversations with colleagues who really are who are really ready to help one another and support each other
yeah,
and not be in this old-fashioned kind of paranoid competitive mindset of like, well, if I help you, it's going to hurt me somehow. So
yeah.
I think if we
And
can harness that, and if we can, as people who have been in the business a little bit longer, if we can harness that well and bring in some of these other veteran hypnotists that we know are out there that have a similar mindset, and if we can create this critical mass and then get newer hypnotists involved in that, it could be a generational effect. It really could.
yeah,
You can
yeah,
take people like you and me and some of our other people that are doing this who've been doing it for 15, 20, 25 years, take all that experience and knowledge and wisdom, share it with, when I say younger, I don't mean true age younger, but people that are newer to hypnotism,
yeah,
younger hypnotists, and not just bring that knowledge, but bring that mindset, that culture, really. Like, can we create a cultural movement where we really get people excited about being together and collaborating together and trying new things? And how would that impact the art form if we did that? I truly think it could be this amazing, like, golden age type of thing. I'm sorry if that's a stupid phrase, but it's the only one I can think of. I just think it could be amazing.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. And I mean, you mentioned there about like, it's not just the USA, already there's been interest from, see if I can get this right, Germany, England, um, Netherlands,
Yeah, we've got applications now from Germany, England, Netherlands, Poland,
Poland.
Canada, obviously the United States, and they just keep trickling in every day now. So, oh, Dennis. Well, what matters
Yeah,
is that you're here now and it's here now, and
yeah.
that's the big thing, right? Is we can do good things now and feel like we made the profession a little bit better and left it better than we found it, right? So that'd be pretty great.
I do think it's just the right timing. A lot of the people involved in it aren't in it for themselves. We are everyone appears to be in it for the greater good. So I think that always helps when you've not got one individual that's kind of going, right, I want to be the king of this and I want to make the money from this. It's, none of us are making money from it. It's a not-for-profit. It's our aim is to do something good for the profession. So yeah, I think it's good. I think it's good. Yeah, I hope it's going to be as good as we want it to be.
That's the big thing, right?
Oh
Is
yeah,
like just go back to how you started with all this, the idea. It's nice to
yeah,
have ideas, but ideas often don't come out the way the original idea is. And so that's where the kind of the slog kind of is, right? Is
yeah,
all the effort you put into trying to bridge from the real world application to the original idea and making them at least match as much as you can. So
yeah,
and I think for us, that's going to just be being patient with ourselves and getting our members to be patient with us, that it's an ongoing process, an evolutionary process. And I also think it's going to be important to get more members involved and
yeah,
get people who really understand the vision as we do a better job of communicating it, and get them involved on committees and in projects, and really, because again, it truly is about collaboration, right? So if we just
yeah.
sit as a board and just keep trying to transmit downward, it's not gonna I don't think it's gonna have any kind of lasting effect.
No, and it's got that thing where it's weird because of the people involved in it. There's some great people. There's some legends. Everyone's kind of got some skill sets to it. But again, there's some great skill sets in the members as well, and it has the potential to not necessarily outgrow me, but with membership and leadership and organic growth within it, it may go in a direction that is different from me. And it's one of those that, as much as I love it, um, my love of it is greater than my emotional attachment to it. Do you know what I mean? I think it has to be its own entity in order to be the best that it can be for the profession.
Yeah, that's a great
So
point. Is you start it again based on the original idea, but you don't know if it will hold to that original idea. Like it could end up becoming this other thing that's much more important, or just much different somehow from what you first were focused on. That's a great point. That could
yeah,
be really important that it does that. Um, I
so
was
that,
just
I mean,
talking to someone the other day about the idea of like, I was like, you'd think at first, like if we do a really good job, we're going to help a bunch of people get more shows. That'd be a simple goal to have, right? It's just help. And I was talking to someone the other day, and the idea came up of like, well, what if that, because of just the way the world is changing, what if more shows isn't what you used to think of it as? I was like, what if, this is just me brainstorming, spitballing, but I was like, what if all of a sudden there's like a giant busking movement in hypnotism? And like,
yeah,
what if people start, because of the digital distribution
yeah,
aspect that's never really existed before, that or, until the last few years, what if you saw like a ton of stage hypnotists just going out and doing street hypnosis, but not doing street hypnosis just to have on their YouTube channel anymore, actually doing it like busking and setting up like digital donation systems? What if you were going out 3 days a week and you were busking and actually making money? Like, I'm fascinated by that. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like there's
yeah.
I don't know, like, will someone figure that out? I don't know. Like,
And that's it. It's as the world changes, and the world is changing at a rapid rate now with
yeah,
AI, with all sorts of stuff going on with TikTok, and we're on TikTok as well tonight. All of these things going on, it's and it's great because of the people involved in it at the moment and its members. It stops that whole, "Oh, no, I don't believe in that. It shouldn't be done this way." It's kind of like, "Yeah, but," and because there's so many different people across so many different countries, that kind of makes it a real melting pot. It's weird, like just between the US and the UK, the difference in some ways that we deal with things, in some things that's appropriate and inappropriate. Like here in the UK, like hypnotizing somebody under the age of 18 for me is like, what? Do you know what I mean? That just wouldn't be done. I know over in the US, if I came out in my pre-talk and started dropping the C bomb, so, that's do you know what I mean? That's going to cause problems. Over here, that's like, oh, that's just Grant being polite.
yeah.
It's such a different, but that kind of that helps that melting pot. That helps people kind of go, yeah, but that's not just that. It's an evolution. Things change. Dennis
I
says, "I love the way you talk,
Well,
Paul."
I appreciate that, Dennis. Thank you so much. I have Google
Uh,
Analytics set up for the ISHA website, right, Grant? And I keep
yep.
going and trying to look into that. The site's only been up for a little while, so every day just new data is coming in, and none of the data set is large enough for us to really draw serious conclusions
Yeah.
yet. But there are some hints, right? And so, like, here's an example. Right now, there is no traffic coming to the ISHA website from South America. And when I say no, I
Wow.
mean no. There is like not a single user has come to the ISHA website from South America. Well, there's a lot of
Wow.
people it makes me start to wonder. I'm like, what is the status of performing hypnotism in South America? Like, where is it happening? Where is it not happening? Right? Like, again, we've got these European countries that are popping up. We're getting
Mhm.
traffic in India and in Australia, but there are these dead zones, right? Like, and so you start to wonder. You think, well, gosh, like there could be huge places with lots
Untapped
and lots of
market.
people who have never really gotten to enjoy this form of entertainment. Would that be
Yeah.
worth doing something about? Me, I don't know. Like, like I'm not going to take it on anytime soon. But again, what if we can create a place where young hypnotists can be inspired to do that? And I did see the other day, like, just yesterday, Tom Silver put up a post from his old days when he got over to Taiwan and he was doing shows in
Mm.
Taiwan, right? And you go, so you know, okay, there's been hypnosis shows in Taiwan before, but like, what is the real status of entertainment hypnotism in Asia? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, there's an awful lot of people over there who might really enjoy it as a form of entertainment. I don't know. Like, that would be fascinating for us to learn more and more about. And because there's never been a central organization, we don't
Exactly.
have anything but some anecdotes from people here and there. Like, we don't have any
And
data about
those
how many stage hypnotists there are, or how often they're working, or how much money they're making, or any of it. There's none of it.
Yeah. And those are and I don't mean this in a negative way. Those are stage hypnotist anecdotes. So those guys, the fish was this big. The fish was this big. Do you know what I mean? There was 20,000 people, and they all went under like that. So by having a central hub of all of that data, and I know you love data, but having that data, it gives us that information. So it does know. Listen, we have members in all of these countries. We know what the different law. We develop what the different laws are like in there. That gives us some leverage when it comes to helping members, all sorts of stuff like that. Once we've got that data, that gives us our power as an organization. So yeah. But
It's
yeah,
not the
exciting
sexy
time.
part of our work, right? Like, and I get that most of our colleagues would be like, I don't care about that. I don't want. But again, if you really love our profession and you want to see it do better, I think you have to at least acknowledge that that stuff does matter. Like every other reputable profession has some kind of a body that's like getting a sense of the economics of the profession, right? Like when I did my presentation for you and Jim at PHS, right back in March, like I did that. I started looking at like where's the cruise, what are the revenue levels of the cruise ship industry? What are the revenue levels of like the comedy industry, like comedy clubs and stuff. And I started looking at it, and I found it pretty quickly and easily because there are people out there tracking that stuff. We don't have that. You can't find that for us. So how do you
Yeah.
set new goals, and how do you understand how to make inroads?
When, like, how do we raise ourselves to be seen as like a genuine, real form of entertainment when, like, there is parts of the Western world that still put us in the same pigeonhole as witches and warlocks. I've done in the UK. I have been to villages where my show has not been allowed to go ahead because we don't allow anything to do with psychics or mystics or anything like that. And I'm like, it's a comedy show using psychology. Like, what is going on? So, when that's happening in the Western world, there is parts of this world where we will probably be burnt at the stake for doing the stuff that we do. And so we're still at that level in a lot of places. So it does need to be, raised up.
I had a student who years ago who he graduated high school a year early. And so he was still a minor, and he got accepted into university, but they didn't want him to come as a minor. So they said, we're going to accept you and we're going to hold a space for you, but we want you to take a gap year, like go have a life experience, go backpack through Europe, or, dig wells in Africa, or do something that gives you a broader life experience, and then come back when you're 18 and we'll take you in then. And he was like, all right. So I said, well, what are you going to do? And he said, he had started doing magic when he was 11, and then mentalism when he was 14, and then stage hypnotism when he was 17. He was amazing, amazing. And he said, I really want to be able to perform fluently in Spanish. I was like, man, okay. So he
Wow.
found a cultural exchange program, and he went and lived in Argentina for 9 months. And he just went out and bussed every day in
Yeah.
this city in Argentina. And his host family told him really quickly when they got to know him the first week, and, talked to him about what he wanted to do while he was there and stuff. And when he was talking, they told him, they said, you can go do all the magic and mentalism you want, but don't go out and do hypnosis. You're going to get in
Hypnosis.
trouble. And he was like, really? And they're
Wow.
like, yeah, there's a lot of people here who, as Christians, still believe that that it can like open you up to possession. And they were talking about stuff like, and they're like,
Wow.
it still has a really bad reputation as being like an occult practice. And they were like, so, if you want to do coin magic or card tricks, they're like, no one's going to have a problem with
Yeah.
that. And so what he did, he was very careful. He did a great job, but he did a little bit of hypnosis, but just never called it
Yeah.
hypnosis. And he'd always open with the magic and the mentalism, and then like sneak in one hypnosis thing. But
They just
yeah, and his big goal was to
like
work on the fluency, right? So that was his. He's like, okay,
yeah.
I just want to perform and keep working on my language. So yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of like the weirdness or the negativity of hypnosis, I always try and look for some news about hypnosis, and it's always weird because a lot of times it's easy for the press to find those negative news stories. I'm just going to quickly show on screen here. This was a lady from I believe it is Seal Beach. This was a lady that believed she was hypnotized through her computer screen to go and buy $6,000 gift cards, and lost some money through it. So she was effectively hacked and mugged through hypnosis through the screen, which is a horrible experience to go through. But it's kind of like, for me, I don't know how much hypnosis is involved in this particular story. I do think some people are very naturally suggestible, and can be, effectively hypnotized through the screen in this way. But it got shared quite a bit. I do feel sorry for the lady in question. It's a terrible thing when these things happen. But a lot of the times, the first thing the public gets to see about hypnosis is when they hear a terrible story about a hypnotherapist that has done something inappropriate, or this kind of hypnosis for mugging or pickpocketing or robbery seems to pop up every now and then. I think when those things happen, it makes people really dubious about what we do. And when they see what we do on stage, again, it's kind of like it's such a weird phenomena, but so misunderstood. And when you do it like we do it, we know that it's like, yeah, but it's not that. But it's just, I don't know. There's so little really positive news out there about hypnosis. You kind of get, I saw an article of a woman that she gave up her 20 cans of iron brew a day using hypnosis. So they're always still quirky and funny stories. She was Scottish, obviously. Do you know what I mean? It's the only place in the world you can buy iron brew is in Scotland. So.
See, I'm like, why is that obvious? I don't know. That's again these strange.
Oh yeah, iron brew is a soft drink.
Oh,
That
okay.
they sell in Scotland, and it's they used to have the tagline in the advert that says "Iron Brew, made in Scotland from girders." Exactly. I love the advert. So yeah, Dennis Ridgway says recycled horse feed. Yeah, absolutely. And so yeah, so there's lots of quirky stories about hypnosis. I just wish there was more serious stuff out there, even for the entertainment.
Like, isn't that our fault that we're not making sure that more good stories get out? Like it's awfully comfortable to just sort of stay and focus on like your practice, your business. And it's like, but what are you doing to help with that? Like,
yeah,
and then Tom Nicoli started World Hypnotism Day back in like, I don't know, 2008 or something like that. And that was a big help, but still it's just one day a year. Everyone would jump on the bandwagon for one day a year and do a lot of public appearances and press releases and stuff like that. And that's great. At least we were doing it the one day a year, and then it kind of fizzled over time. Right. But it's, it's like, what the media is and how they work at this point. So I'm never going to hold my breath waiting for the media to do like lovely stories about us, right? They're only going to do what's going to get clicks and help them sell ad time, and that's all the drama.
But I think that's part of the problem. I think it's a good debate. This, I think the problem is a lot of hypnotists now try and go for, or try and promote themselves with the low hanging fruit. So they try and push themselves and embellish their stories to make them a bit more clickbaity in order to get the column inches, in order to get the publicity.
Yeah.
I got involved in something a few years ago. A story was sold from it. And at the time, I thought it was brilliant. I ended up, in a newspaper article in all sorts of weird countries on the back of this one particular event. At the time, I thought it was brilliant. 6 months after that, I, losing corporate contracts because of it. And you kind of like, yeah. I mean, it wasn't for me, it wasn't anything negative. At the time, I thought it was a really positive thing. It was using hypnosis to.
It was the penis enlargement thing. Was the
yeah.
Yeah. I remember that. No, it was really good.
It was teaching dancers hypnotic language patterns in order to become better sales conversions when it came to their dancers. So, yes. Which was great, but the story got sold and it went around the world, which was great at the time. But for a while, when you Googled my name, it would bring up this, article about using hypnosis to manipulate men in order to get their money from them.
Yeah.
And so, but my intentions were pure.
Were they though?
Again,
yeah. So wait,
it's like,
I could just
It
see
was like charity work.
you're like, so I get to take a whole bunch of dancers and put them in a room, and then I get to teach them stuff. Do I have to really demonstrate stuff with them? Or
Yeah.
they're gonna need to practice, right? They're gonna need to practice.
So yeah, so it was I don't know what you mean.
I don't know what so I totally get what you're saying. I totally get what you're
Yeah,
saying. I think that this is again to go back to your earlier example. I always get really irked when those stories come out at how what the media do is they find a hypnotist to comment, and
yeah,
it's always a different hypnotist, but yet the comment is always the same, which is some version of that's not what hypnosis is and that's not how hypnosis works. And I'm like, that's bullshit. Like, you can't just definitively say that. Like,
yeah,
why is it that we love to point out the brilliance of Erickson as a conversational hypnotist, but then when someone is using what might be like manipulative Ericksonian techniques to steal from people, we're like, oh no, that's not
yeah,
hypnosis. Why
yeah,
we're so want it to be both ways. People love to refer to themselves as Ericksonians because that's like the holy grail, right? If you can be a true Ericksonian, you're the mental master, you're the covert chief, like, and so it's like, so it's okay if you're using these really covert techniques to get someone to quit smoking, but the minute that it's for a nefarious gain, oh no, that's not hypnosis. I'm like, come
yeah.
on, come on.
It's that whole, with hypnosis, you can't make someone do anything they don't really want to
Right, and
do. It's
that's
like,
the standard line, right? And you go, "Yeah, but what if you're not making them? What if you're just manipulating them? And what if they, like, what if they think it is something they wanna do, but you still did it with the suggestions?"
yeah.
It's a
And I
huge,
think,
like, attempt to have, like, a
yeah,
get out of jail free card, you know?
yeah.
It's
For
lame,
me,
I
a lot
think,
of
at this
those,
point.
a lot of those throwaway comments that are said, you know, as a stage hypnotist, I say those in my pre-talk. I don't believe them, but I know in order to make the audience feel comfortable to join me on stage, I say those things, you
Well,
know?
there is again, it's this is where you get into semantics, and sometimes semantics can be really annoying and stupid and useless, and sometimes semantics are really, really important. And this is a
Yeah.
great example of that is telling people at a stage show that they you can not be hypnotized against your will is appropriate because
Mm.
in the setting you're not sneaking it in, right? Like you're
Yeah.
having a clear moment of choice out of an ethical application for your audience. So it's true in that particular situation, right? Likewise, I tell my people at my shows, I say there's this thing called selectivity, and you always have selectivity at a show like this. If I give you a suggestion that you don't feel comfortable with, you can stay in hypnosis but reject the suggestion. That's
Mm.
true. Like again, because at a simple level, hypnosis is not mind control. If you want to pair hypnosis with manipulation, that's now we're getting into other things. It's still not mind control, it's manipulation, right? But so that's where it's like, if you're ready to go down the more complex assessment, the story changes a little bit. But I think I mean it when I say to them, like, you can't be hypnotized against your will. You can't
Yeah.
be because your will would be you'd have to offer it right now. But I also say to people when they ask me one on one, I say, you can't be hypnotized against your will, but you could be hypnotized without your knowledge.
Yeah.
That's a different thing.
Yeah.
Right? If someone uses these covert techniques, confusion techniques and stuff, and they never make you aware that they're even doing an induction and they never offer the choice to you, you don't even know. So to me, that's an important differentiation.
When I was younger, I had a
Oh.
friend. When I had a friend who was younger, not me, somebody else. Uh,
Uh-huh.
and he We'll say he for the sake of this
You didn't even
demonstration.
change the gender. You stayed with
Yeah.
okay. Yeah,
He
you're not very good at
identifies as
this,
he.
Grant.
um, had more influence when people didn't know he was a hypnotist. Because I think there's an element when people know you're a hypnotist, that guard comes up a little bit.
Right up, right?
Right
Yeah.
up. What
Yeah.
do you do? Oh, I'm a hypnotist, he would say. And people would get that guard up. When they didn't know, you could put in that Ericksonian language patterns and you could manipulate a lot easier. So, but
Yeah.
he doesn't do that anymore.
Yeah.
He's got a cat now.
Makes sense. He's got a cat now.
He's got responsibilities.
He's got responsibilities. He's matured. My friend, he's matured.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is. He's a good egg now. He's a good egg. I just while on here as well. Next week we've got Kevin Lepine on the show. He's just about to release his book. I believe it's 8th of November. It's coming out, which is Deep Into My Eyes: From Victim to Vegas Headliner. I think this is going to be a really interesting read, and so I'm looking forward to that as well. Where we like a lot of hypnotists that I know, that holy grail is a book. At the beginning of the pandemic, I always said I didn't have time to write a book, and then the pandemic happened, and I went, I'm going to write a book, and I never did, which frustrated me because the one thing I had during the pandemic was lots of free time, and I
Yeah.
didn't write the
Yeah, I
book.
screwed that up too. I
Exactly,
should
and
have, and I didn't.
I know Jim is writing a book. I know he's had one in the past, but he's got one coming out. Is it something you've thought about?
It is something I have thought about every couple of months, for the entire 19 years that I've been in the profession, and it is particularly vexing to me given that I, studied English at
Mm,
university and was an English teacher. And
that's
so
exactly that's what I kind of thought. But
yeah.
there is
Yeah, I'm
no one
like, if
more
anyone should
qualified.
be writing a book and should
Yeah.
be able to do it rather efficiently and effectively, it should be me. And I think
Mm,
that's the I hate so it's a lifelong thing I've been working on. I continue to work on it. I so very much hate failing that
mm,
if there's sometimes if there's any chance that I may not make the standard I have in my head, which to me would be a failure, I just won't do the thing in the first place.
yeah.
And that's definitely the deal with the book. Like I know I could write a book. I absolutely
Yeah.
know I can, but I need to I need to stop thinking that it needs to be like perfect.
Yeah.
And yeah, yeah. So I've been thinking about that as one of my, winter is slower for all of us
Yeah.
usually, and especially for me just getting back into performing again. So when I head out to the desert, I was thinking maybe I would uh, give that a go this winter. I've wanted to write a book for years about stage hypnotism. I feel like I'm at a point in my career where I've done it enough and I've done it well that I could write a pretty good educational book about stage hypnotism. So,
Yeah. I mean, there's a few stage hypnotists that have brought books out. Um, Terry Stokes' book, My Way. Stage, I think that's a great book, and you can tell by reading it that you can tell he is definitely, he talks and walks his talk. Dave Rawson here in the UK, he's got a great book on stage hypnosis. Crispy T, Chris Doc Strange has a great book on stage hypnosis. But I don't think there's not been many, like you said, that educational book on stage hypnosis. There's Ormond McGill's, and dare I say it, Jeff Ronnin's book, um, which was a great book on stage hypnosis. Wherever you've thought on that, there's a lot of people that I know that are great stage hypnotists because of that book. I know a lot of people, some don't like it for whatever reason, but it's a great book. But they're probably they're the two or three I can hang my hat on and say good stage hypnosis educational books, rather
yeah.
than here's my
Yeah.
story as a stage hypnotist.
Yeah. They tend to be a little bit of almost like part memoir, part instructional
Yeah,
manual,
and I think
you
it's
know?
because of what you said, though. I think because as stage hypnotists, we know how um, opinionated other stage hypnotists can be, and I think sometimes we
Yeah,
don't want to nail ourselves to a particular thing, and then have the rest of the community go, "Oh, that's wrong because of this." So it's
yeah.
easier for us to kind of go, "Here's my story of hypnosis and what my hypnosis has done for me." But yeah, I do think there's definitely a space in the market for a, you know, Paul Ramsay's guide to stage hypnosis and being a generally
I
nice chap.
like I like thinking about the work.
Mm,
It's, like, and I think again that comes from my formal education as a teacher is what I was really trained to do over and over again was think if you want to help someone learn something, you've got to be able to break it all apart and understand how it works. Um, I always use the word mechanical, even though
mm,
they're always ideas, right? There's nothing physically mechanical, but for lack of a better representation, I always say, what are the mechanics of it? And
yeah,
I do that a lot with hypnotism, more so I think than a lot of my colleagues. I really sit and think about the mechanics of every aspect of it, from whether it's just doing an induction or whether it's building a show. I think mechanically about everything. And another part of that is when I got into teaching, because teaching doesn't pay particularly well in the United States, I also was coaching. I coached soccer and I coached baseball, and so in both of those endeavors, you have to get into mechanics a lot too, and
mm,
I was getting practice that way of really helping young people break down their mechanics. And so in my early adult years, I was really all the time breaking down the mechanics of things, and so that stayed with me a lot. And so I know I'm good at that, and I think that would be one thing that I could do differently than probably some of those other books, even though those are great books. All
yeah.
of those books you mentioned are great books, but I just think mine would be a little different in that way. And maybe that helps somebody that, maybe I'm more aligned with some people in that way, and that would help some folks, and that'd be great.
I think that's what it is as well. Just like when we are, if we if we do talks or presentations, we all bring ourselves to that party. That's the thing that is our USP. We can't all have a purple monkey. That's our USP. That's our thing that differentiates us from everyone else. And so
Yeah.
someone's gonna love you. Someone's gonna love me. People are gonna hate you. Not that I can imagine anybody hating you. To be fair, Paul, some people are not gonna quite like me. That's cool with that. I love those the best. To be fair, but that is that is the stuff that makes this stuff work. Really, I could say something, we could both say exactly the same thing, but for some people, they will understand it more from me. This is probably not the right way around, and other people will understand it more from you, just because we're all different in our
Yeah,
special
because
ways.
there's just different representational systems, right?
Yeah,
And different, yeah. And so, but that's our again, now we're looping back to this idea that I talked earlier of, can you think in your whole professional life, Grant, of a better time than now for all of us to be doing that with each other? Like, there are
it's
more people that I genuinely want to hang out with,
yeah.
share ideas with, laugh and contribute and collaborate with now than there have ever been in the past 19 years of doing this work.
I
It's
don't know if
so
it's
wonderful.
I don't know if it's the social media has matured, whether we've matured, but like you'll remember, like, and I've not seen one for a while, but maybe 10, 15 years ago, you'd get people to go, "I haven't had a bad show. I don't have a bad show," you know? And it's kind of like we all have bad shows every now and then. But it used to be, I think it was that perception of fake it till you make it. But there used to be a lot of this whole, I'm the world's best and I've never had a bad show. Every time I knock it out the park and every time it's a full house. And over the years, that seems to have just got less and less now. And people now just seem to be a bit like, do you know what? Yeah, I know if I share my stuff with Paul, he's not going to steal it from me. We're going to grow because of it, and we're going to be better together because of it.
I think a big part of it is the getting older.
Mm,
I think we're at an age where we have been around enough where you don't think about it, but you just get more comfortable in your skin and you
Hmm.
just don't worry about that stuff anymore. And then because you're really authentically being that way, people sense it more, they feel it, and then they're not worried about it when they're around you. And
Yeah.
and so now you're at this point where again you can be on a Zoom call with each other and we're just in a whole different place than we were before. You're not guarded. You're not, I really, I'm not, I just don't care anymore. Like if you don't like my show, I do not care. If you don't
Yeah.
like the way I do something, I do not care.
Yeah.
Like I know where my heart is at. I
Yeah.
know that I'm good at what I do. And I honestly, I was telling Salish this a couple weeks ago. We were both traveling for college openings and stuff, and we were both on the road and we were talking on the phone. And I said, I will put my show up against anybody.
Mm.
Anybody. Now, that doesn't mean my show's better than theirs. Like an objective audience could watch both shows and be like, yeah, we like his better. I get
Yeah.
that. But I'm at this point where I'm like, I have done it long enough. I know what I'm doing and I believe in what I'm doing. And if you aren't willing to put your show up against anybody's, that should put a flag up for you, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're where we're at, where you're 20 years in, right? Like if you're newer, different story.
Yeah.
But to me, I'm like, if I didn't say that and look you right in the eye when I said it, that'd be a huge concern for me. And again, like it's not it really when I to go what you were saying, I think earlier, if you heard people saying that it was more of an ego thing, to me, it's just a simple fact. I'm like, you don't hypnotize as many people as we've hypnotized and do as many shows as we've done, knowing that we love the work and not get someplace. You better be someplace by now, right? So I'm like, let's go. Like I don't know how you would. It's so subjective. Anyway, I understand, but I'm like, let's go. Put your show up against my show. We'll put 100, neutral people in the audience, and let's see who wins. For lack of, I'd do it.
Yeah.
I would totally do it because I want to keep. It's not because I need to have someone say. I want to see like what if it doesn't? Then why? Because then I'll go into mechanics again, right? And then I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, now we can do something. Like,
Yeah.
but you know, at the same time, I can sit in a room with a bunch of colleagues and I have that one little compartment in my brain. And then I have all these other compartments in my brain where I'm like, I love and admire these people and I want to share with them and I want to learn from them. And, it's these seemingly conflicting things. They're not really, they're just in different compartments, right? They can
Yeah.
coexist, even though they
Yeah.
would seem to be at odds with each other. They're really not. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's having those communications with colleagues, competitors, whatever you want to call them. If that just makes you go, do you know what? I just want to be better because of that. Then that's it. A friend of mine said it to me a couple of years ago, and it really stuck. And I think at the time, I wanted to be the world's best hypnotist, as we all go through at some point. And then they went, you shouldn't do that. It's okay to want to be better, but don't try and be the best. And that
Right.
really kind of triggered something in me. And I think that's when my kind of change started to happen. And it's like, no,
Yeah.
I don't want to be the best. I just want to be better than I was last week, last show. And if I can keep improving, it's not about being the best, then going, right, I'm the best now and then stop it. It's about just trying to do better all the time. So yeah.
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 Yeah. It is. Are you doing your best?
Yeah.
Right? On any
Exactly.
given night, are you really trying to do your best?
Andrew Tate, who is a controversial character, I will say that. But he put out a great video a couple of weeks ago, and I really liked it. And it's like in chess, there's always a best move. It might not be a winning move. It might be that you're about to get checkmate. But in that position, there is always this is the best move to make. Some people, they choose in that moment to go. I think to use his terminology, they use that moment to go jerk off. That's not the best move to make. In any situation, there is what's your best move. And I think all of us as solopreneurs, as self-employed business owners, as entertainers, we've got what's our best move for us. And I think that's it. It's always trying to make sure you're doing what's best for you. And I don't mean that in a dog eat dog business type of way, as in like what is going to be better for you in the whole bigger picture as being part of the community of stage hypnosis, because it's too small a community to be dog eat dog and it's just business. That I think
Yeah.
people that do that get found out really quick.
That's my next blog article that I want to do for the ISHA website is this metaphor that has been used for years of uh uh, you know fighting for your piece of the pie,
Mm,
and I think that, so I'll preview it right now and maybe it'll help me flesh it out even more in my head. Is I was talking with someone about that last week. I think it was Colin Chapman. Yeah, I was on the phone with Colin, and I said, the thing is, for the longest time, you've got all these hypnotists that are fighting for the same scraps of the pie, and there just keeps being more and more stage hypnotists, right? I was like, why don't we just make a bigger pie? Like, why don't we have a discussion about what it would take to make the actual pie bigger? And then, and like everybody gets some pie. And he
yeah,
was like 1,000%. And I was like, well,
yeah,
that conversation needs to happen at a community level, right?
yeah,
Like what is it going to take to make, and again, this goes back to what was starting to touch on when I presented for you guys at PHS is, you look at these other industries again, like professional sports worldwide brings in like, I don't know, it's getting closer and closer to like $1 trillion a year. The film industry brings in like 2/3 of $1 trillion a year or something. Like, it's like the numbers are becoming mind-boggling for how much entertainment is being consumed worldwide at this point, right? And like we truly, like, we don't even represent like a crumb. And you
and
go,
we
well,
should.
what, we should, we
And
totally
no,
should.
we should. Well, we're hypnotists. We understand persuasion, influence, marketing. We should have the biggest slice of the biggest pie. We are mind control experts, but for some reason, it doesn't. It doesn't go bigger than me. It stays here rather than being let's expand this collective knowledge out to the community, and how
Yeah.
can we be bigger, how can we be better? But no, it stays small. So yeah,
So that's a conversation I really want to keep. Like, honestly, for anyone who watches this, like, I would love to keep having that conversation for like the next year
yeah,
easily, right? With people over and over again, is like, how do you make the actual pie bigger? Like, moving beyond the metaphor, what's the practical application of that metaphor? How do you make that pie bigger? Where does it come from? Is it about, again, to go to what we were talking about earlier, is it about making new geographic markets, and getting into places that currently Dennis, you're on. Or is it about new markets within markets, right? Is it about, like I said at PHS, I said, there's 2 million weddings in America, and nobody in America has done what Jason O'Callahan has done in Ireland and made themselves the wedding hypnotist and tapped into that
mm,
market. 2 million weddings a year. If we all had this, again, in a totally hypothetical vacuum way, it's just interesting to think about. You go, so if we all banded together and said, all right, we're going after the wedding market, like, we would have to drop all our other work just to like take on 2 million. Obviously
yeah,
you wouldn't get 2 million gigs, but this, again, it's like the humans aren't very good with math. I'm like, do you know how much 2 million really is? Like, you couldn't, even if you only took a little percentage of 2 million, we couldn't work all the gigs. Like, and so, how do we start looking at stuff like that? I mean, there's got to be new and emerging markets that have just been being ignored, and people aren't thinking about it, because what they tend to just do is watch, oh, Paul and Salish and Chris Jones are doing really great in the college market. I should get into the college market. Oh, Brenda and Nadine and Kelly Carl are killing it on cruise ships. I should get into cruise. You see what's there. It's hard to see what's not there, but is there, right? Like, Yeah.
A great book that I'm currently about halfway through at the moment, Blue Ocean Strategy, and that's exactly what it's talking about. It talks about, you know, take that market, find out what differentiates you, find out what adds more value, and then create a blue ocean where it's not full of competition fighting. So it's all about this kind of, you know, you're not really competing, you are in a new market. And exactly that. It's easy for people to look at other people's success and go, "Oh, that's how you do it. They made money that way, so that's how you do it. So I'm going to try and copy that." And it's like, well, no, you know, find out what you do well and then double down on that. Here in the UK, you know, a lot of it is about time in the market. Don't get me wrong. I'd like to say I'm popular because my show's amazing. It's not. A lot of the times it's because I know when the agent rings or the booker rings, I'm still in business, and I have been for the last 20 years. So you build up a client base, but you know, part of that is to do with, you know, constantly improving, constantly putting my stuff out there, constantly trying to do better, and not just chasing after the next shiny penny, and just staying consistent. A lot of people just kind of go, "Oh, that's working, so I'll go do that," or "That's not working, I'll go and do this," and I'll do another training course, and then I can go do this, and then, you know, they're chasing the tail and not actually staying consistent with something.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
for
yeah,
sure.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Paul, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's always a pleasure. Um,
It's always a
yeah,
pleasure, buddy. I love you so much. It's always fun to talk with you, and you're really important to me, and I'm so glad that we're working on this thing together. I'm just grateful for you.
do you know what? Back at you. It is just there is some great people in this industry, and you're definitely one of them. And you know, again, Dennis, a great person as well, and Jim, when he's not on his holidays or wherever he is, he's not too
Yeah,
bad as
what the
well.
hell with that guy? He's just was he like just laying around eating bonbons? What is
I
the
think so. Yeah, yeah. It's just he's tickling his cat. That sounds so wrong. Bless him. So yeah, cool, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. Do join us every week for this show, and do check out. Let me just pop this back up here as well. The fantastic blog by Paul Ramsay as well there on the Issue website, and membership applications are open as well. So do check that out as well if you are interested in performing hypnosis. That is a great thing. So do check it out. A few other things to check out as well. I'll pop it through. Roy Hunter and Jim Kellner of Hypnosis 101. The Mid-America Hypnosis Conference is coming up in a couple of weeks' time. Performing Hypnosis Summit is coming up in February. And Kevin Lepine's book is out on the 8th of November. Whew, that was a mouthful. Guys, thank you very much for joining us this week. Please make Paul feel very... Oh, hang on a minute. Let's pick our winner. I've got a sneaky feeling it's either going to be you or Dennis Ridgway.
who get no, but
Oh, in fact, no, it was actually me. So let me just
you
pick another, let me pick another winner. I've won
you
my
won
own
it. Well,
prize.
then
There we go.
clearly
Dennis
it's Dennis.
Ridgway. Dennis,
Dennis gets the
you
Dorito.
you have won the Dorito. You can swap that Dorito from one about doing the Satan's tongue for the Christmas special. I think that would be
We're
quite
not
interesting.
doing that. That's a recipe for disaster. That's
I've,
that's
I've,
gonna be what's
I've
wrong
ever
with you
told you
treating
about
us so
the
justly?
live stream that I did it was during the pandemic, so I'd not earned any money for ages. And I was doing a live stream for a local children's charity. And each week it got more and more daring. And it ended up where I had to present this quiz after eating a Carolina Reaper chili, which is 2.5 million Scovilles,
Yeah.
against another guy who almost ended up in hospital that night.
Really?
Yeah, those are hot. And it started off at like mild chilies all the way up to like the world's hottest chili. But all the way through, they were like, "Oh, if you donate some more money to Sheffield Children's Cancer Charity, then you can make them go into the next one. Or if you want to get out of it, Grant, if you want to pay this amount of money, you can buy your way out of it." And I wanted to go, guys, I've not earned in nearly a year.
You
Pass me the
understand
chili.
that entertainers aren't working during the pandemic, right? Yeah, and
Exactly.
be like,
It's like,
"How
wow.
about you put this up your butt?"
Yeah, I'll send you the video.
And then see how
It's
much
quite
you wanna
interesting.
donate.
Exactly, exactly, yeah. It was interesting, and that's how my live streaming journey began. Awesome. Right, Paul, it's been an absolute pleasure. I shall let you get off there. Thank you very much, guys. Take care.
Alright,
God
brother.
bless.